Hello and welcome to a GTU library tutorial on adding items to your Zotero library. Today we're going to cover using the Zotero Connector, a browser tool that helps you add items to your library, and the best way to use that connector tool. We'll talk about your web library that allows you to access your Zotero library from any device. You can also add items to your library that way. We'll talk about finding full text. We'll drag and drop PDFs. We'll adjust metadata. We will use a free website called anystyle.io to take paper bibliographies and get them into a format that can add those citations to your Zotero library. We'll talk about manual creation a little bit more in depth, and we're also going to talk about the Google Scholar lookup button, where to find it, and how to add items from your feeds. It's a lot. This is why this is a in-depth Zotero video. If you need to step back and go to our quick start video, I've linked it below. So let's get started. I'm here using Chrome. I'm just starting my research. I've got my Zotero Connector button here in Chrome ready to go. And I've just discovered that there's this unique database that I can do my searches in. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect to this philosopher's index. And browse my results, see what's interesting. Notice that the connector icon changes. So if I wanted to just really quickly save a whole bunch of articles that are from the search results page, I could use the manila folder. I may want to hop in and just grab this article right away. And turns out, when you click the button and you don't have Zotero, the program, open, you will get this pop-up, which is pretty annoying. So that's reason one that I recommend that you keep Zotero, the program, open in the background while you're researching and potentially wanting to add items. You can notice that it's saying you could add this item, so you could hit enable saving, and it might guide you through some pop-ups as well for the permissions to add something to your Zotero library. So let's see how that item came over. So here's my Zotero program. And the thing that came over, there's a few things that I don't like about it. So you notice that the title has the database name in it. It didn't come over with the author. It doesn't have an attachment with the full text article. So there's two reasons this happened. One, I didn't have Zotero, the program, open in the background. And two, I clicked too fast on the Zotero connector button. So just be cautious when you are adding from a database or a site, because as I reload this page, you'll notice that the Zotero icon suddenly changed to a book. So we can see that there's this, and even Zotero is not quite getting it right. So I'm going to go ahead and save this again. And maybe it actually did, because look, it's bringing full text and it's changing the icon to that little article. Good. So with this one that is incorrect, I don't want to use it in my citations because the citation will look funny. It won't be in the proper form. I'm just going to right click and move that item to the trash. You can see that I've already done a similar search, and this is what that duplicate will look like. Let's say that you're in Moodle or your professor handed out a paper list with ISBNs of your required texts. You could just click this magic wand icon and I've saved a few ISBNs here. You can just paste those in and look at how quick. We've got this full book. I can go ahead and drag it and drop it into a folder where it belongs for a particular class or something. You can also do this from your web library. So when you have a free Zotero account, all of your bibliographic information is backed up to the cloud. Your PDFs, up to a certain point, you get free storage for those in the cloud as well. If you're like me and you have like tens upon tens of folders and tons of PDFs, don't pay for storage. Use Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive or something else so that you can have your own cloud storage and you don't have to pay for the Zotero cloud storage. But my point is, you can also, if you're in a browser, you're away from your typical computer, you can add items to your Zotero library. So you just sign in. I'm already signed in, and this web library option will come up. And it looks like the same almost, the software screen. So here's that add by identifier wand. So you can do that in your web library too. Let's say you have folders of material that PDFs, journal articles that you have on your computer. This was prior to you having the wonderful Zotero and using the connector to add things. You can, using Zotero, the program, just drag and drop from your file storage those PDFs. So here's a PDF that I happen to download without using the Zotero browser connector. I'm just going to drag it and I'm going to drop it in to the library. So here it comes over with that ugly file name, but in a couple of seconds, it read the metadata embedded in the document and extracted it into all the things we need, the identifiers, the author's name, the journal, the volume, issue, how many pages it is. Amazing. So you can also drag and drop PDFs. If you scan something, it won't have that metadata embedded. So you would have to still manually create. Scanning isn't that magic yet. But these journal created PDFs have all this attached metadata information about the journal article that will come right over. So go ahead and take advantage of that drag and drop. If I created my own diagram that I wanted to attach to this particular item, I could drag and drop that diagram, that scan of a diagram I made just to brainstorm. So you can, there's no limit to the amount of attachments you can put on a single item. Sometimes when you're adding items, you want to be mindful of what you're adding and what will come with it. So let's go to the GTU Library homepage. I love doing a search for Julian of Norwich. And we're going to limit to ebooks here. Great. So here's that folder icon. I'm going to go ahead and select this one and bring it over. So then I watch it. Good. It's coming over as a book. Even comes over with some additional metadata and information. Notice that there's no PDF coming over. If I click full text online, it takes me over to JSTOR. And you'll notice there's all these PDFs. And also my Zotero icon is not the appropriate book icon. So you might experiment with which cite. Maybe you use the book's identifier like ISBN to add it first because you want good metadata in Zotero to get the correct citation when you're writing your paper in your word processor. Let's say I'm scrolling through and I don't want all the PDFs for this book, but I'm really interested in the sensuality chapter. I'm going to go ahead and download it. And I'm going to have Zotero, the program up. I'll refresh things here. Here's the chapter, and I'm going to go ahead and drag it over here to this book. So it's attached here. Depending on how you cite things, maybe a better way to take care of this chapter would be to manually create a book section and then go back and forth between the metadata page. So you're citing it as a section from a book and not just citing the whole book. A good example would be is if this Julian of Norwich theologian book was actually a collection of essays. Maybe you're not using the whole thing and you want to attribute not the editor first, but the author of the particular chapter. So you can manually create the book section info and then drag and drop that PDF over to there. Notice that the PDF now is attached to the book section. It looks like if I wanted that PDF in both places, I'd have to drag and drop another file. But I want any notes that I make to be on just this one PDF, so I'm happy with that there. If you've been researching for a while and you've just recently started using Zotero for citing, you might have previous papers that have bibliography sections at the end, and you want to add those resources, but add them a little bit more quickly. There is a tool for that. Another use case, you might be here in Zotero, and you might read a very interesting article. So here's one. And as you read, you get to this person's works cited page and you start to decide, oh, this is really cool. I want to find it. I could copy paste this bibliography entry and keep a running list. And then at the end of my note taking, like say I'm flipping through various articles, gather all of these wonderful citations, can have this running, here's things I want to investigate document. And I can use a tool called anystyle.io. What it does is it is going to recognize when I copy and paste my references, it will recognize the portions of the text because the creators of this tool have trained it to recognize, oh, a period here, a comma here, or this kind of text usually means volume and issue number. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. And it does parses, sees the data and puts it into a file format that Zotero can read. So very quickly, I had it parse 11 references. One way to check to see if it's reading it appropriately is to have that quick count to know, oh yes, 11. You can then look and see which things are going to come over and how they're going to come over. So coming over with the edition, coming over with editor information. Notice that you might notice things like container title. No, actually this, I'm going to just hold down the shift key and select all of these individual words. Go, actually, this is the full title here. You can go through it. Yeah, this is the title. So you can adjust when the program gets it a little wrong. But these are looking very good. Zotero reads what's called a bibtex file. The ending of the file is .bib. And this kind of file provides plain text structure to store bibliographic information. That's all it is. It has all of these little tags that tells Zotero, okay, add this item, and here's where all the information about it should go. So let's go ahead and download this file. It comes over as an anystyle.bib file. And in Zotero, you can go up to File. And in Mac, that's going to be the Zotero up in your top bar, Zotero menu. And there's an option to import. So we're going to go ahead and import a file. We find that anystyle file in the download. And depending on how you have your folders or your collections set up in Zotero, you might want these all to go into one new place, or I'm going to uncheck this. I just want it to dump into my generic library and I can organize them myself because maybe they're going into multiple different folders. So I'm going to uncheck that. But next, Zotero completes the import. I hit finish. And here are oh, it jumped me to a weird portion of the page. Here they are. We've got a thesis. I've got some little things to adjust because maybe that little quotation mark shouldn't have made it there. This little comma at the end here should go. But instead of spending time trying to find it in a library catalog or do a Google Scholar search and re-add it, I've got these here. So anystyle.io, really helpful for when you have a lot of things already on paper, or if you prefer to add things after you've read and annotated something here in Zotero. Sometimes manual creation is the only way. So let me show you, actually from a Google search. Maybe you're listening to a lot of podcasts. So like NPR's Fresh Air. So here's Battle for the Soul of the Catholic Church. And Zotero did change its icon. So I'm going to go ahead and try and save it here. So it comes on over. Let's see how it saves. Comes over as a newspaper article. It brought over NPR with all the different letters. I'm going to hit the minus over here. I don't like it. The other thing I don't like is that the author isn't really NPR, and it's like the publisher. And maybe what I'm really interested how I'm using it is how Philip Sheenan is interviewing Dave Davies. So in this situation, I might be really glad I found this in this way, but I'm going to go ahead and create an interview manual item for this. So what I do in this situation when I know, oh, I thought Zotero was supposed to be magic. We do the work to put the metadata in so that when you're writing the paper, Zotero gives you that magic button to be able to cite. So when you do a summon search for the Chicago Manual of Style, you can click this link that comes up. And in their citation quick guide, go to notes and bibliography style, you can jump to the item form. And their example is actually one from NPR. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep this up, going to minimize this, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to interview. I'm okay with it losing some things. We'll keep the title, and it's an interview with Dave, and then the date, February 24th, great. Medium is audio. They have fresh air in there. I want the interviewer, so I could add interviewer. So notice how you can hit that add button and change that and add the information manually. So this is quite a lot of work, but it allows you to apply the appropriate Chicago Manual style format for how you're using a particular item. It's not just a web page, it is a podcast interview, and we're going to use the interview format so that people know what it is that you're citing and they can go out and find it themselves. And we can give credit. the interviewer put in a lot of work, and the person being interviewed it deserves to be recognized too. And that's also a part of citation, is giving credit where credit is due. There's a video that we've done that I'll update for the modern look of Zotero about using feeds. So sometimes you want to keep up with a journal, but it's hard to remember to click in. You can have Zotero add that journal as a feed. So when you have feeds set up, I'll create a whole separate video on feeds. But when you monitor them, you might see something interesting and go, wow, Ghost of Modernism, this is really cool. Just from the title, you can decide, okay, in this panel over here, I'm going to go ahead and add it to my library. And here we've got the pop-up telling us, okay, this is coming over. And I clicked the button twice. So just be careful. If you get a little bit too excited, things are moving too slow for you. If you click too many times, it's not good. So here's this article. I just found it as a result of following the journal using Zotero, and the PDF came over right away. So now I can incorporate this research in my paper and start highlighting and doing all sorts of good things here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this one. So adding from feeds is amazing. Something else that you'll want to do is add the GTU library as a lookup tool. So Zotero has the ability to automatically find full text. So to set that up, you're going to want to go to Edit. You can go to Settings and go to General. Scroll down, and you'll want to set it up with this base URL. And that URL is going to be in the description for this video. Or you could pause it and manually type it out, but it would be much easier to copy and paste from the description for this video. So once you have that in, you can be looking at these individual articles that I don't have an attachment for. It's like this, hermetic embodiment. I'm going to see if there's the find full text. This one doesn't have it. My current theory is if a journal article doesn't have what's called an identifier, like the ISSN for the journal, special identifier, or a DOI, that lookup tool, it won't find it. So if it doesn't show up when you right click, something that you could do is there's all these tiny little icons off to the right, teeny tiny. There's one with an arrow and a circle around it. There's a Google Scholar button. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and that'll open a web page where it uses the title and author information to try to bring it up. This one does not have a freely available PDF, but at least I tried. And I could do it all just in Zotero. I didn't have to think about it necessarily, just right over here in that button. So when you see items in your library that for some reason the PDF didn't come over, and they have the DOI, you can right click and click Find Full Text. And a pop-up will emerge. This one didn't find it. We can try another one. On Christian education, this one, it found it. So pretty nice to have it come over with the PDF, and I can start annotating it in Zotero. So to recap, we've covered so far how to add items with your Zotero connector, making sure to have Zotero, the software, open so that you can get the PDFs over. However, in a pinch, if you're using somebody else's machine, you can also add in the web library, especially if you have the article identifier, also called a DOI, direct object identifier, or a book's ISBN. We showed you how to add the library's special URL so that the library lookup tool will work for finding PDFs of things. We talked about manually creating particular item types so that your citations are a little bit clearer according to the Chicago Manual of Style. We covered anystyle.io for getting your paper bibliographies quickly into a format that Zotero can read. We talked about the Google Scholar button. That is a good second option for finding the full text. We talked about how adding an item from a feed looks. The final thing that I want to cover is Zotero for mobile. So when you have Zotero as an app installed on a mobile device like an iPad, an iPhone, or an Android smartphone, you can install the Zotero app, sign in, and then be able to add items in a unique way. So here's my Zotero program, my app on my phone, and I have a stack of library books here. Each have an ISBN barcode, the store barcode on the back. So here in Zotero, I'm going to click the plus, and I'm going to scan the barcodes. And we're going to add that first one. Look at that information come right up. We're going to scan another. I'm going to scan a last one. So you could be in the library scanning materials and seamlessly getting them into your Zotero library, which is really fascinating for at least to me. So make sure you sign into your Zotero on your mobile device, especially on iPad. You can mark up, add notes, read on that tablet, and even scan barcodes of books on your shelf. I could see using Zotero to keep track of my own personal library that way and have little tags for lent out to someone or donated or got from the library. So there would be ways that you could organize your personal library with this quick barcode tool to add things. So thank you for watching this full video on adding items to Zotero. This will be a part of a playlist of in-depth discussions on what Zotero can do. So please make sure to watch those other videos. Thank you so much for your attention.